This is an interview with Gilda Wipperman for the Stoneham Public Library, Stoneham Oral History Project by Betty Whelan, at Stoneham Library on September 9, 1975 at 10:30 a.m. Mrs. Wipperman, could you give us a brief biographical sketch of yourself?
I certainly will. I'd be very happy to. My name is Gilda Wipperman. I was born Gilda Drago, Drago being my maiden name. My parents were of Italian descent and came to this country when they were very, very young. Settled in Somerville. I went to the Somerville Public Schools, graduated Somerville High School. I started my musical education under an aunt who was a piano teacher. I was 8 years of age when I started taking piano lessons. At the age of 12, I received an award from the Conservatory of Music, and I started taking lessons there until I entered Boston University. I took lessons from a very famous Russian pianist, Hans Abel. Following Hans Abel, I took from Nicholas Slonimsky, and then entering Boston University, I took from the famous Alfred von de Caro.
Very interesting. At 8 you were taking piano. Very, very good. So you attended BU. Did you get your master's there also?
No, I got my master's at New England Conservatory of Music.
Very good. And when you came out, when did you start your teaching career?
My teaching career began in September of 1940, and I started in New Hampshire in a supervisory union. There were 4 towns: Bradford, Warner, Henniker, and Hopkinton.
Let's read that. And how long did you stay there?
I stayed there from September of 1940 to March of 1944. I had to leave in March because my dad became very ill, and I came home to take care of the family affairs. Unfortunately, he only lasted a couple of weeks after my leave from the New Hampshire schools. And from that time on until I got my job in Stoneham, which was in November of 1944, I liquidated his business, which was a tailoring business. And I was appointed in Stoneham in November 1944.
Very good. And when you were appointed, was that for all the schools or just for the high schools?
Yes, no, it was for all the schools. We were a small town then. The population in Stoneham was approximately 10,000 at that time. And I was the only one in music, except for, I can't remember his name now, he's in the Boston Symphony. Oh, yes, I do. Roland Tapley, a very fine violinist who took care of the high school orchestra. And he evidently came to Stoneham because he was very friendly with Mr. William Netto, who at that time was the high school principal. And since it was such a small town, I was able to go to all of the schools. I had the responsibility of teaching music from the elementary school through high school.
Very good. All of them. That was quite a day you spent. Right. And then when were you appointed supervisor of music for all the schools?
I was appointed supervisor in 1956.
Very good. And in 56, how many were on your staff then?
Let's see if I can remember that far back. You know, I was thinking of the Stoneham financial status, the budget of the schools and everything else. We would keep adding. One year they'd add an art person, half art person, then they'd add a half music person and a half physical education and so forth. Now I can't remember exactly how many there were at that time, but I would say, let's see, we had increased both the instrumental and the vocal program. Wouldn't it make it easier if I tell you what it is now? What it is now? When I left in June of this year, we were 8 people, 8 full-time people on the music staff, 7 full-time music teachers and myself, who was supervisor and also did some teaching. However, I'm very happy to say that as a result of our recommendations, this year, starting in September of 1975, there are going to be 8 full-time music teachers plus a full-time music supervisor.
That's quite a few since 1944 when you came here.
That's right,
but
remember the population has increased too, but then we've improved and increased the staff and related it to what was possible for the Stoneham Public Schools.
Right. Since coming to Stoneham in 44, can you tell us some of the musical events you've taken part in or what you've encouraged in the music line?
Yes, there have been a great many things. As far as programs, we always have had a spring concert, which was part of the high school program, in which case we would involve all of the vocal and instrumental groups, performing groups at the high school. 3 years ago we changed this to the Pops concert because we thought people, instead of sitting at a formal concert, would like something a little bit more informal, and it proved to be very, very satisfactory. We had the same type of a concert, only we had our parents helping us out, our wonderful parents who prepared the refreshments, and we set up the high school cafeteria like you would at the Boston Symphony Pops concert. The Carnival Ball, as you well know, has been going on for a great many years. I never started the Carnival Ball, but I have been involved with it ever since I came in 1944.
When you came in 44, did they have the musical section of the Carnival Ball, or was it just the dance then?
It was, they had everything when I came. You know, the Carnival Ball at that time was entirely different than it is now. That was the end of winter sports, the culmination of winter sports. And they had the ball, in which they had the regular review that we have now, plus the dance afterwards. That kind of petered out a few years ago.
Yes, and of course the sports petered out too. We
Right.
just have now.
You see, they'd have round robin at all of the schools. Even the elementary schools were involved in this many, many years ago. But now it's just traditional to have the Carnival Ball. Some people think it's misnamed because there's no such thing as a ball. But this is a tradition in Stoneham, and I'm sure it'll go on for many, many more years.
Right. Now,
I have other activities if you want me to
oh
talk
yes,
about
love to,
them.
surely.
We've always had what we call the all-town music festivals, in which we involved all of the music activities from the elementary school through junior high, through senior high school. And we hold this at the town hall, in which the choral and instrumental people would show what was going on in their particular areas, such as an elementary orchestra, junior high orchestra, rhythm bands of the elementary school, the social studies program integrating the singing, the dancing, the playing of instruments, and all this sort of thing. We've always had to put on a great many programs at all levels, including Christmas, Memorial Day, and of course graduation at the high school. One of our prides and joys with the Spartan Chorale is the performance at the Prudential Center. We were invited, I would think it's about 7 years ago, when they first started the Christmas festival program at the Prudential Center. And I understand at that time that there were about 36 high schools who were involved. And at that particular time, you were asked to put on a program right in the center for a half-hour duration. This went on for 2 or 3 years. Finally, as I don't know whether you know this or not, but the New England Conservatory of Music was failing because they had no financial aid. So they decided to foster the Conservatory of Music and just use them at the Prudential Center to encourage people to send in donations to help the Conservatory of Music out. So about 3 years that went on and the schools were not invited. However, we were invited back when they started a new type of a program with Arthur Fiedler, the main feature. And of course, everybody loves Arthur Fiedler. We're quite excited when the invitation came to go to the Prudential Center, and they invited several other schools, and this was the opening of the Christmas program at the Prue with Arthur Fiedler doing the conducting of all the choruses. And it was a great thrill.
Wonderful, right. So you go every year now?
Yes, we're invited every year, and that's the big thing. Everybody says, did we get the invitation from the Prue yet?
Right, yeah. Well, now, like last year, I know we went to see Tom Sawyer that the elementary put on, which was great.
Yes, I was going to tell you about that. Of course, this was done by one of my staff members, Mrs. Charlotte Brummett, who was very worthwhile member of the staff. We also had put on Bye Bye Birdie at the junior high school, a first musical.
I thought that was great. I saw that.
People loved that, and Donald Shrimpton, another member of my staff, was responsible for that. This year, I know the high school has become very excited, and so they're already thinking of putting on a musical because everybody loves to be involved, all the arts, music, the art, the drama, and so forth. It involves a great many people, and it's a marvelous experience, I think.
I know I've enjoyed Youth Night when the children
That's
play.
another, that was junior high school too.
Right, yes.
So every school really has its own little specialty, and it's the staff that makes it, as you well can understand. I have a wonderful staff. I speak as though I'm still there, don't I? But it has been a very fine staff. They've worked well together, and they all have a lot of wonderful ideas themselves, which they have been able to foster.
Good. I think the students really enjoy it too. They get right into the spirit of it.
We're lucky that music is something that everybody loves, and those that want to are the ones that are involved.
Right, yes. I'm so glad to see music too in its own. You know, sports is such a big thing in schools, but I'm glad to see music coming right on strong again.
Right.
Know. For a long time we didn't have the programs like we have now. Music was sort of relegated to the background.
This is right.
Now it's come on real strong the last few years,
and
it's great.
It should be an integral part of the whole program, and of course for everybody. And this is one thing that I have always tried to do, is to involve all levels of ability, not just the performing groups, but to expose everybody to as many experiences as possible, just to get them involved and excited. So many times you've heard, particularly boys will say when they're seniors, "Oh, I wish I had done this before.
Right.
It's so much fun. I can't read music." And they feel that they can't read music, but once they get involved, they know whether the note goes up, whether it goes down, whether it stays in the same place, and then they just to participate, it's the greatest joy in life, I think.
Oh, I think it's great. I know the shows I've gone to see are just great. In fact, I feel like getting up there myself.
Well, you're certainly a loyal supporter of the music program, I would say.
Yeah. With our bicentennial celebration on this year, is the music department plan to do something in that vein, do you know?
Yes, we already have started. Last February, the Carnival Ball, kickoff for the Carnival Ball, or for the bicentennial here in Stoneham, was the Americana theme.
Right.
And this fall, it is my understanding that the homecoming will be centered around, homecoming football game and so forth will be centered around. Then every single one of my schools have been involved. For example, Mrs. Bentley, who was one of my elementary specialists, had a program at a couple of her elementary schools involving the historical development of Stoneham, in which she utilized the multimedia approach. She had pictures taken of various historical spots. The children wrote poems. They dramatized various aspects of the program, and the singing was tied into the whole program. It was a very delightful. Also, at Robin Hood School this past year, Miss Ramonde put on a program that was of the same idea, but she involved the students in working out a meeting at the town hall the way it used to be. The students worked at the town hall the way it is now. They prepared a sketch on the music of that particular era, all kinds of things tied in with the historical development of Stoneham, including music, the drama, the singing, the dancing, every aspect. It was beautifully executed.
I bet it was. See, dancing, music,
Everything.
takes a big part in that.
Yes, what we like to do is incorporate everything, because that's what, when it has meaning, when it's related to all of the other arts
That's
too. It's
right.
something that will remain in the children's minds for a long, long time.
Now, all your former students, have you kept in touch with any of them that have gone on in the musical field?
Yes, you might like to know. I have visitors every day.
Yeah,
I just
bet
love
you
it.
do.
I at least have 2 or 3 people coming back, whether it's a college break or they're going to class or what have you. And there are a great many whom I could mention, but these are some that come to mind. Irene Valenti, the Langs, as you probably know,
Yes.
Scott, Petey, Bucky, and Duffy, Gail Contestable, Janice Macchia, Josie Picano, the Zycheks, who have been so influential in a lot of the programs, are Michael and Matt Zychek, Mary Beth Horney, Billy Lacease. I'm just giving you names now, then I'll tell you something about maybe a few of these who have gone into the field of music. Kathy Ledoux, Vicki Wagner, Laurie Starr, Lenny Bomba, Nancy Dennis, Linda Campbell, Maureen Mahoney, Joyce Teal, Robert Heinlein. These are some of the few that I can remember, because there are a great many, and I wouldn't want to slight anybody. However, a great many of these have gone into music, such as Janice Macchia, who graduated Lowell State College a year ago and got a position right out of school. She's teaching in the Wakefield schools. Mary Beth Horney, who is another former student of ours, who went to Lowell State College and is now teaching in a suburban school. It's kind of interesting to know a person like Billy Lacease, who was involved in the Spartan Chorale and loved it so that when he went to college, he started minoring in music, and he's done quite a bit. He's an elementary teacher now in the Melrose schools, but music is his minor, and he's done a lot with it, and I'm very proud of that.
I think that's great.
Yes.
Carry on your work.
Right.
Right.
And of course the Zycheks, they do a lot of gigs, as they call it, and they both perform as a team. Matt went to Brown University and has taken the year off just to perform in these gigs. Michael graduated Boston University, majored in piano. Michael we always considered little Leonard Bernstein when he was in the 4th grade. You might like to know this. This was so interesting. He was in the Emerson School, and he wrote 3 compositions. I don't know if I can remember them now, but I was so impressed. This little 4th grade boy, who was probably 8 years of age at the time, played piano beautifully, and he wrote the composition. One that I remember so well was the Cat and the Mouse Waltz. It was such an impressionist. Another one was the Composers Go to the Circus. And
Oh, I think that's marvelous.
imagine
Right, at 8 years of
and-
age.
Yes, and then I just, his career has been so fine all the way through, and he even comes back to school periodically, and usually I have a theory class meeting at the particular time that he comes, and he'll just sit at that piano and just go to it and perform for the whole period and more too, if we dare allow it.
So quite a few of your students have gone on.
Yes, we have a great many students. I say great many, but we're very proud of the number that go into the music education field each year, or whether you want to call it music education or applied music where you major in an instrument, or the other facets in the music program, such as working in a publishing house or writing music. Now there's another young lady whom I have a great deal of respect for. She's going to be practice teaching in the schools this year. She was a Stoneham girl, Laurie Starr, and she's going to Berklee College of Music. She was an accompanist for my Spartan Chorale, a very talented girl, a very fine worker. And she wanted so much to teach in the Stoneham School, so we were able to get her appointed for this year as a practice teacher, so she's going to work at the different levels.
That's very, very good. Excellent. My goodness. So anyway, now you retired in June, Mrs. Wipperman. And so what are your plans?
What are my plans?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I'm going to miss Stoneham. Of course, I've been here a great number of years, and it isn't something you're just going to forget. I've had such marvelous associations. However, this is my own decision, and I think I will be happy in my new life in that I'll be able to do some of the things that I've never had time to do, such as, number one, just to enjoy my own home, because I've never been home that much. I love to read, I love to go to concerts, museums, all this kind of things. I have a great many friends whom I'll be able to see more often than before. And my husband and I have taken a great many trips. We have nothing planned in the future as far as trip taking is concerned. However, I'm sure that we will have some a little bit later on. He's still working anyway, so and we enjoy each day. I think that's the best thing. Every single day we enjoy.
I know. You were in school for 31 years.
Yes. I taught 35 all told.
All told. My goodness, what a career, huh?
It's a long time. When you look back, though, it doesn't
The years go by
seem
fast.
possible. Like people say, well, how did you ever teach that long? But I start talking to some of the young people that I've been working with, and then, 7, 8 years, all of a sudden it comes up, and before you know it, it'll be a great many more than that for some of them, I am sure. Life goes by so quickly, especially when you're involved and enjoying it.
Oh, I know, that's true.
One of your questions, I don't know whether I answered it completely or not, about the musical events. I don't know whether you had wanted to know about this, but first of all, my philosophy has always been to have the attitude of going into each class as if it's the only one I'm teaching for the day. I always felt that way. I go into every classroom as if that's the only thing I was doing for the day. And we always tried to relate to the times. I think I've been very, very fortunate as far as that's concerned. So that we had several innovative programs at the high school particularly, where we added music theory, and then through the students' interest, we were able to recommend a music major program, which was initiated probably 4 years ago. Also because of the students' interest, piano classes are now part of the curriculum. We have recorded classes. And we did have an appreciation course. This year we decided to combine with the art department and have a sort of an integrated program and taught by the two specialists, the music specialist and the art specialist. And the course is called Man, His Music, and His Art. You probably know we have a great many glee clubs and choruses, and the reason for that, I always felt that students should be able to join any one of the groups, not necessarily for performing, but just the fun of being together, sharing this great experience together and enjoying making music. And it's sort of an emotional outlet in the school day. True, sure. Of course, we do have the other performing groups, such as the Madrigal, the Girls Ensemble, and the Spartan Chorale.
Right, there are quite a few groups.
Yes.
True. Mrs. Wipperman, could you give us some information on the Spartan Chorale, how it got started?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. First of all, I should tell you that Mr. Hoyt is probably the greatest advocate of our music program. Because of his great efforts, we've been able to include a great many of our courses in the high school curriculum. And this is how the Spartan Chorale probably got its inception. We began about 6 or 7 years ago thinking of a performing group that we should have for the high school. And because there are too many other things included in the program, it wasn't possible to schedule such an activity. However, I decided to call together approximately 30 high school students, sort of a cross-section of students, who would be interested in coming before school time and starting a group of this caliber. At the beginning, we came 1 period per week. It was rather an exciting experience for all of us, including Mr. Hoyt, who was so enthusiastic about the group that he scheduled in the program the next year. You might like to know that because of his admiration for our works, we've been able to include the following in the curriculum: music theory, music major, piano classes, recorder. We have a great many glee clubs and choruses, and this is not necessarily for performing, but just so that students can become involved and really enjoy participating, the joy of making music together. And it's sort of an emotional outlet, I think, from all of the academic work that they have experienced throughout the day. Another course, I don't know whether I mentioned this, we have had appreciation, but this next year we're changing the course and have it sort of a humanities approach, including the art and the music and some of the other areas. And the program is to be called Man, His Music, and His Art.
Very good. Good enough. Now, what about the band and the orchestra?
Oh, we're very proud of our instrumental program. The instrumental program, perhaps I should tell you a little bit more about that. We begin our program in grade 4, where we expose the students to the sounds of the instruments in a symphony orchestra. We have an assembly at all schools to motivate the youngsters, and after they hear these various instruments, they go home and say, oh, I want to play a violin, or I want to play a clarinet, or I want to play drums, and so forth. We have some school-owned instruments, but we have what we call a rent-to-own program, because the town certainly cannot afford instruments for every single child who would want to take part in the instrumental program, because we have approximately 300 or more students each year who are involved in this program. The outgrowth of the instrumental program is that we have an elementary band, an elementary orchestra, junior high band, junior high orchestra, senior high band, and senior high orchestra. Also with the emphasis now on stage bands or jazz bands, whatever you may wish to call them. The elementary school this past year, we started an elementary stage band. We have one at the junior high that is scheduled, and of course you know of the well-known one at the high school under Mr. High.
And they won first prize.
Right.
That's someone very good.
And I'd like to tell you this, involving all of our curriculum, many of these new innovative programs have come about as a result of the student interest and student demand. And of course, if you prove these things to be worthy, then they're scheduled. And we're very, very happy that because of the desire of the students, a great many of these programs have been possible.
Very good. How about classes in music now in the schools?
Well, we're going to change that this next year. If you're referring to the elementary situation, up until this year, there were 8 people, I think I told you, on our staff, 7 full-time music specialists and myself as supervisor, and also doing quite a bit of teaching. We recommended that this coming year, and I'm happy to say that it will be a reality, that in September of '75, there will be 8 full-time teachers and a full-time supervisor of music. The additional teacher will be in the elementary school. Up to now, elementary music, the instruction the students received was once every 2 weeks. But because of the teachers' bargaining committee, as you know, they're probably the busiest people in the whole school system, and they never had any time off. And as a result of the contract, some of the free time now is when the art or music or physical ed specialists come to visit the classroom. However, in our curriculum, we still expect that the elementary classroom teacher will follow through the lesson as prescribed by the specialist on his or her visit to the classroom. Now, we hope to have each elementary music specialist visit the classroom 1 period per week, and then the classroom teacher will follow this through until the next visit. This is one big step forward because, as you well realize, the elementary school is the foundation of the whole music program, and it has to really be developed.
That's true.
At that area.
Would you like to see more classes in music?
Oh, I'd love to see a great many more. But as you know, there are just so many things happening in the elementary curriculum that there aren't enough hours in the day to see all of these programs through. However, with the new step forward this year, receiving instruction 1 period per week, I am sure that more will be added as time goes by.
Very good. In 1971, you received an honor, which I'm sure you well deserved, from the Stoneham School Department. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, I would. I don't know whether I deserve it or not, but it was a marvelous experience. I was picked Teacher of the Year, which is a recommendation of the school department to pick an outstanding teacher for a particular year, and then they send all of your credentials to the Massachusetts organization, and if you survive that, then it's sent to the national teacher. I just remained Teacher of the Year in Stoneham, and I was very, very happy for that award and recognition.
Sure, you well deserved it, Mrs. Wipperman. How about changes? Anything you'd like to see coming in future years?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been very fortunate with the staff, as I've told you. I think we've always worked together evaluating the program. As you know, evaluation is the key to success, and you always have to keep up with the times. I think I've been very, very fortunate in being able to relate to the students throughout my career, now as an older person, although I hate to admit that, as well as when I was very, very young. I think this is what makes the program. You have to keep abreast of the times, as the old saying goes. And so with the staff, we have always evaluated what is going on during the year and see means of improving it, deleting this, adding that, and so forth. And I'm sure they will continue in that vein, because nothing remains still. Nothing is ever the best. We always are improving and doing better.
True. Since 1944, I imagine you've seen quite a few changes.
There certainly have been a great many changes. As a matter of fact, we completed the last curriculum guide in music in 1969, and that's a very short year, a few years ago. Now there are many things in that curriculum guide that we don't even use now, so you can see things that are in a changing stage all the time.
That's very good. Anything further you wish to add on the...
Yes, I would like to say I certainly have always enjoyed my work, loved working with students, and have always treated them as human beings. I hope that all who are involved in the music education program here at Stoneham will experience the stimulating, rewarding career that I have had in working with our young people.
Oh, I'm sure they were very happy having you, Mrs. Wipperman.
Well, I guess
supervisor.
it works both ways, I guess. If you enjoy what you're doing, it makes it that much easier.
Right, but you've certainly done with music, you know. So it's very, very good. And we wish you lots of luck. in
Thank
your
you very much.
retirement as you come on. And thank you very much.
This has been a lot of fun. And then there isn't time always for a special performing group. So that I decided one day that I would organize a group meeting before school, and I just called in about 30 students from the different grade levels at high school and asked them to meet in the morning, which they did, and they were very loyal to me. As a matter of fact, you probably know, even when I had the carnival ball, we'd call in those 150 at 7:15 in the morning for finalized rehearsals, and they would come in. So this Spartan Chorale started about 7 or 8 years ago, coming in one period a week in the morning before school time. And the students enjoyed it very much as I did, I am sure. Mr. Hoyt, who has been probably the greatest advocate of our whole program, began getting excited about these students coming in and hearing what they sounded like. So that next year I was very fortunate in that he scheduled the Spartan Chorale as a regular course during the school curriculum. You see, this is the way things have to work. You have to prove yourself, I guess, and if somebody thinks it's worthwhile, then they put it into the curriculum, and this is how it started, so that we had one period per week. Now, we're very happy to have 3 periods per week allotted to this, as we've done also for the concert band, and some of these other things just increased the time.
Oh, isn't it great? I'm so happy to hear that, you know, coming in on the school
Yes.
program. So that's good. And then the band, of course.
Yes, the band with Mr. Hyde, and of course Mr. Tadaro, who's worked with us great many years and is now doing the junior high school level. Very fine men. The concert band, we're scheduling them 3 periods a week, and then something new that started, the stage band, that has made quite a name for itself. This is Mr. Hyde's pet baby, I guess.
Right.
And he even has these youngsters coming in during the summertime 1 day a week.
Is that
working.
when they
Yes,
come
they do.
in?
They even take private instruction from regular professional teachers, and then they have ensemble meetings, and they've been working together all summer long. And then, of course, they'll be competing in a great many of the festivals.
Yes, in fact, didn't they win last year in Belmont?
Yes, they won first place in the Northeast Festival, and we were very, very proud of that. And here again, they work on this organization because they want to. They love it, and they get a lot out of it, and they're just very, very loyal to him.
They're very good, too. I've heard them, and I think they're great. Oh, I think it's just great that, you know, the interest is there.
Well, we hope there's something for everybody. I think that's the important thing, not just to stress. I think for a program to be successful, it has to have many aspects, not only the average student who just wants to take music because he wants to learn something about it, or just to sing just for the fun of it, but for anybody who might be using it as a stepping stone to pursue it as a career in college. That's why we put in the music theory, and the music major, and the piano classes, because many of our students were going into music education, and we were giving them some of these courses before they reached college level.
Oh, that's good.
I also thought you might like to know about the many different other types of groups that our students have performed in, such as the Greater Bostonians, which started a few years ago, and it appears on television. And every single year we have students who audition and take part in that. That's the vocal group. Or also there is a band that goes with that now, and we have had students involved in that. Then the Greater Boston Youth Symphony, which is more of the classical type of music, and we've had students involved in that every single year. We also give our talented students an opportunity to take part in the Northeastern District Festival, whether it be the choral or the instrumental group. And in this particular festival, students have to learn up a number, whether it's vocal or instrumental, depending on which group they're going to participate in. And then they have to audition, and their audition is taped, and they receive marks for the intonation, the breathing, the diction, all these different aspects of the singing or the playing of the instrument. And then if they rate high, then they're selected. The Northeast District Festival involves about 60 or 65 communities, and it represents the northeastern part of Massachusetts. The same type of organization is involved in the western part of the state, the central part, and wherever the southeastern, I guess, but there are 4 sections of it. And then, if they do well in the Northeast District Festival and are starred to audition for the All-State, then they re-audition for the Massachusetts All-State Festival. And if they pass the audition, then they are involved in a big chorus or an orchestra or a band, and they're away for 3 days, such as this past year. The festival was held in Chicopee, and they work under top-notch conductors. Right. And it's an experience that you can't give them at your own school. This is for the more talented. So that we work with them too and give them the best opportunity.
Did one of our students, Ron Melconian, did he get into?
Who was that?
Ron Melconian.
Oh yes, Ronnie Melconian, John Hinchy.
Right, John.
Yes, and Laurie Sangren. I can't remember some of these, and they're terrible, but there are so many of them. But they
very
were
talented
all,
students.
And last year we had the Passatora girl who played violin so well, and Frank Kluken who played the viola. They were in the Greater Boston.
I saw them on television. They were very good. In fact, they went down to Columbia, I believe.
Yes. Oh, well, of course I can't speak now. That brings back to mind one of our prides and joys, and that he plays French horn, Stephen DaCosta.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful boy. Wonderful boy. And he's going to the conservatory, New England Conservatory. We expect to hear great things from him. We have a feeling that he's going to make one of the symphony orchestras, because I think this is his strong point, is to become a performing member of a group of that caliber.
It must give you great satisfaction to know they go on and pursue it, huh?
It certainly does, but remember, I'm not the only one that's responsible, because I've had very fine teachers all the way along the line. I have a very fine working staff, and plus some of their private instructors that they've had as well. But we work with them, and we bring them as far as we can in our situation.
Right. Oh, the programs, my goodness, so many of them. That's great that you participated in. I think you deserve this award, and you were nominated for it in '71. Teacher of the Year.
Right. I don't know whether I deserve it or not, but it was a great honor. I never expected anything like that, and that type of an award is presented by the different cities or towns, and you're nominated for the national. I was Teacher of the Year here in Stoneham, and then they pass all of these recommendations in for the state, and if you become teacher in the state, then they send it into the national. But I was just teacher in Stoneham, and I was very proud of that. I thought that was a great tribute.
You certainly deserved it. Very much so. The music department really has increased over the years, and it must be a source of joy to you to see how it has come right along.
It certainly is, and I hope that they will continue. I'm sure they will, because we've always worked so well together, and even before leaving, they helped me tell the administration what the needs in the future should be for Stoneham, and they really have followed through as far as our recommendations of the teachers. Now, I don't know whether I said this previously or not. Up to this year, in the elementary situation, and this is true throughout the whole country, because of the teachers bargaining, elementary teachers are given some time off when the music specialist, the art specialist, or the physical ed specialist come to pay a visit to the classroom. Up to this time, a specialist would come in once every 2 weeks and teach the lesson, and I had always felt that you were teaching for the teacher's benefit, and then the classroom teacher would follow this through until the next visit, which would be 2 weeks hence. But when the bargaining committee came in, the teachers did have to have some time off. As you know, they're probably the busiest people in the whole
Certainly.
school spectrum, the elementary teachers who have very little time off for anything. So that when bargaining started, they had asked for time off. So in our particular situation here in Stoneham, it is written into the curriculum guide that they are to stay a certain number of minutes while the specialist is there, then they can leave and come back before the end of the period. But as you well know, if a person isn't prepared in music or art, they're probably not going to be as eager to continue, because there are so many other things in the program. So that because of this, we have to do something different in that we are hoping to have a specialist in every elementary school who would be completely responsible for the music or the art, such as they are doing in the western part of the country. This year, I'm very happy to say that we have convinced the administration that we needed one other full-time person at the elementary level, thereby releasing the teachers and also allowing each classroom to have a music specialist 1 period per week. That's a big step forward.
Right.
Where it was 1 period every 2 weeks, and if there was no follow-through. The elementary school program, that's the foundation of the whole system, and if they're not getting much music there, it's difficult to pick up the threads when you're in junior high school, which we have had to do. So this should improve, and I'm very happy that this is happening, so that for the first time, and this happened in art last year, so the art and music programs, each child in Stoneham will have a specialist 1 period per week in his classroom.
Would you like eventually to see more periods?
Oh,
per week?
absolutely.
Right.
You see, we still expect the classroom teacher under this plan to continue to do some work on his own or her own. But as I say, there are so many other things expected of them. There just aren't enough minutes in the day.
As I was say, with the classes set up the way they are, it's pretty difficult to work music in, unless it's definitely planned.
That's
so
right.
Eventually, you'd like to see a few more periods definitely planned.
Several more, because this is so important to the youngster, because they're going to be a consumer or a performer eventually. And this is our aim, is to provide worthy use of their leisure time when they become adults, whether they learn to play an instrument as a result of taking instrumental instruction in the elementary school, or whether they've just been involved in listening or singing, or so that they will develop the love to maybe start their own library, record library.
Yes, I do think over the years I've noticed that youngsters are really appreciating music, whether it's rock or classical or popular.
More and more.
And they're getting to appreciate even more and more. They can't appreciate it unless they know about it.
No.
And I know when I was in school, classical music was not a must.
No.
We never learned to really appreciate it.
No.
And so, which is really a...
But you don't appreciate something you don't know a thing
That's
about.
right.
And like I had always told my students, you have to have a broad mind. I remember a few years ago we were taking as a unit electronic music in the music appreciation class, and some of the youngsters get turned off to that because they don't appreciate this kind of thing. And I say, now wait a minute, before you come to any decision, let's find out what it has to offer. And then even if you don't like it, all right, that's your prerogative. However, you really have to have an open mind and listen to everything and then decide for yourself. Don't have a closed mind. I think this is so important. Like, I've learned a lot about the rock and so forth from the students myself. It's kind of a reciprocal type of thing, which is exciting.
I think music reaches all languages and things. You can really get to know people through your music and through their music.
Absolutely.
And so it's great.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, let's hope in the future we do get new music programs and classes.
It seems as though that's going to work out because, as I say, they did appoint this person now, and each of my elementary staff will be able to go to each elementary class 1 period per week. That's a big step. And maybe other times too, nobody knows.
When you first came in 44, how many classes would they have in music? Would you go to one school 1 week?
It was the same program. We'd go once every 2 weeks to every class. You see, I was responsible for the whole thing. I had junior high school, so I had every phase of the program. I've had experience all along the line, and it's been very, very valuable because you get to understand the needs of each age level. Like everybody says, junior high school, but they're the greatest kids to work with too. They're the kind that they show me. But if you've got something, and this is kind of exciting in our junior high program now, many schools are going, as you know, junior high school music, it's a state law that they have to have music in the junior high school. Well, anything that kids have to take, they dislike, art and music. So that in some situations they're changing it so that they elect one of many courses. Now, if you have the staff, that's wonderful. In our own situation, my staff has been very versatile in that they suggest several topics, such as a jazz unit, or a unit on the recorder, or a unit on singing. And for the 4 quarters of the year, they give the students this long list of activities and let them choose, and they pick out the 4 top ones that the students have voted for. So they, in their own little way, they're having mini courses.
Right, but also having their own choice.
Their own choice and enjoying it more.
Right.
You see, we're putting recorded, even guitar class, all this sort of thing that never existed. Oh, I'm a great advocate of all these things now.
But isn't it great, because this appreciation will come through, and they also will get to learn about the different phases, but they probably wouldn't have taken the interest if it wasn't there.
If they have something to do in the planning of it and the choosing, I think it is more meaningful to the youngster, and they'll work that much harder. And that has proven to be true all through. I think in all the other curriculum subjects, I'm sure it's worked the same way, like in the English at high school, when they've broken it down to so many choices. This is wonderful. They can pick what they want to really know more about.
Oh, that's really great. Mrs. Wipperman, any other changes you'd like to see, or anything added on in the program? Are you happy with the way it is now?
Well, I don't think anybody's ever completely happy. I think we always have to evaluate. As you know, evaluation is the key to success, and this is one thing that my staff and I have tried to work out. We discuss any problems and try to settle things to the best of our working conditions here in Stoneham. I don't know, I'm sure there are going to be a great many changes after I leave, because things change. I know since, I should tell you this, we have the last curriculum guide that we wrote for the music program was in 1969, and that isn't too long ago. And a lot of the materials from there we're not even using now, so that everything is in a complete change all the time. As long as they work for the best interest of the Stoneham youth, I think that's the important thing.
I agree with
that
you.
relates to the students, because this is our job. We're here for the students.
True,
and to develop them as far as their capabilities will allow us to.
Good. Is there anything further you wish to add?
Well, I'd like to say this. I have always enjoyed my work, loved working with the students, and always treated them as human beings. I hope that all involved in the music education at Stoneham will experience the stimulating, rewarding career that I have in working with our young people.
Oh, I'm sure they enjoyed having you, and you certainly are going to be missed.
Well, I don't know about that. I'll miss it, as I said before, but it has been a rewarding career. It's been exciting, and I know I will still be involved in music to a degree. I guess I didn't mention this fact. I will be doing some work with the children up at the Berry Rehabilitation Center. I've been asked would I help out there. So I'm going to do that too. I love working with that type of
I'm sure you're never going to get away from it completely.
You know, I have a beautiful piano and an organ at home, which I never touched. The only way I ever kept practicing was through playing for the choruses. So now maybe I'll be able to sit down and work on the repertoire that I used to have, because I used to play.
You play the piano and the organ. Do you play any other instruments?
No, piano basically. That, as a matter of fact, when I graduated Boston University, I also gave a senior recital of my own, and I played out an awful lot. In fact, I also played for some radio stations like WHDH. This is many years ago. I used to do all kinds of things like that, and I had quite a repertoire as far as the piano is concerned. But maybe I'll get back to that. The organ I love, but I only have that because my husband thinks it's the greatest instrument, and we got it a few years ago, so I enjoy that too, but piano is my main instrument.
Very good. Well, Mrs. Wipperman, it's been a joy talking to you and reminiscing back on your teaching career here at Stoneham, and I wish you much luck in the future. And we're going to miss you at the school.
Well, thank you very much. It's been fun, and I've enjoyed coming back to tell you a little bit about what's happened to me over the past 31 years here in Stoneham.
Very good. Thanks ever so much.
You're very welcome.